Hello, friend. How you doing? I hope you've had a great week so far. Anyways, get your notebook and your pen and let's get started. Today's lecture is going to be on pips, lots, and leverage. We're just going to define some of these basic terms that are important to understand when beginning your trading journey. So, these topics these topics is are the core. This is beginning to enter the core of trading. This is where it begins to feel real. This is when you begin to these are the core terminologies of trading. These are the important things you now need to start understand. These are the things that you need the understanding of these ones to actually trade. It's very important to understand these things to trade, and it's very relevant. So when you press the buy or sell, how do you know how much you are risking or how big your trade is? That's a question. So that's where pips, lots, and leverage come in. They determine how profit, losses, and risk are measured in the forex market. So let's talk about a pip. So a pip, PIP, simply means a percentage in point. It is the smallest unit of price movement in a currency pair. Think of a pip as you think of Celsius, you think of seconds, minutes, you think of meters, you think of tons, you think of kilograms. It simply is the unit of measurement of the movement of price. So how do you measure when price goes from $100 to $150? So in Forex, we don't just say we don't talk in the dollar value alone. So the difference between 100 and 150, there is a way we measure it. So because there has to be a standardized unit of measurement, because when you think about it, it's not all currency pairs. Now remember, we are talking in pairs of currency. So not all currency pairs have the same quote value and or the same base value. So there is a standardized way in which currency pairs are measured from one price to the other. So think of it as how we measure distance in price, just as we use centimeters to measure length. So for currency pairs, one pip is equals to the fourth of the decimal place. So that is 0.0001. So that's what it is. It's the fourth of the decimal place. Now, there is no chart here and there is no direct description of what this is, but this is the theoretical side of it. If you want to understand this more, if you really want to, it's good to a put it in some AI system or Google it or something, and you will understand it better. In fact, I encourage you to do further research because this solidifies the knowledge. Um, there is a reason why I don't want to bring any charts here. I don't want to meddle it into this beginner course. It's an introductory course, and I hope someday someone who watches this appreciates not having to see charts in the very beginning. It is not absolutely necessary to see these things. These are theoretical knowledge that you need in the very beginning. So for currency pairs, one pip is 0.0001. That is the fourth place of the decimal. If you remember, we looked at Euro USD price, and it was 1 Euro USD. The base to the quote was 1.10000. So that 1.1000 usually is how we measure prices. So it's usually measured in the fourth decimal place. So, however, for currency pairs with JPY as their quote price, it is the second decimal place, so it is 0.01. You would understand this further as we move on. So Euro USD moves from so if Euro USD moves from 1.10000 to 1.1010, right? So that's the 10 pip movement. Remember, it's in the fourth decimal place. So we begin to count one pip from the fourth decimal place of the value of the currency pair. If it is USD JPY, we count it from the second decimal place. So if USD JPY moves from 145.00 to 145.10, that's a 10 pip movement as well. So, and this is because the value of JPY is so low that it would not make sense counting from the fourth decimal place because its value in comparison to most currencies that it is paired with is usually like large numbers, 200 and something, 100 and something, unlike USD JPY or unlike Euro USD that is usually one value, 1 point something, 2 point something, 0 point something. So that's why GPY is like that. The number of pips gained or lost helps traders measure their profit or loss on a trade. So these numbers are very important. You need to know, okay, if I'm risking 5 pips on a trade with so amount of loss, this is how much I'm losing. This is where you begin to form ideas around numbers. This numbers, the numbers of pips, of lots and leverage, is more relevant. I won't say relevant. It is more important, very more important than the amount. I'm risking $10. Well, yeah, but how do you put that $10 on the chart and ensure that you lose, or you are risking only $10? This is where you can calculate that. So in Forex, trades are executed in lot sizes. So now we're going to lot sizes, the number of value of a position that you put in a trade. So lots represent the volume or size of a trade. So brokers use standard sizes to make the market uniform. So there is a standardized way of measuring lots. So it is uniform across board on CFD brokers. So we have a standard lot. So a standard lot is 100,000 units of the base currency. So what this means is, remember base and quote currency. Base currency is the currency on the left, quote currency is the currency on the right. The currency pair is quoted in the price of the quote currency, and the base currency is always one. So one of the base currency is equals to the price you see in the quote currency. Yeah. So one standard lot is 100,000 units of the base currency. So if you say you bought one standard lot of pound USD, that means you just bought 100,000 units of pound USD. Now, if you want to know how much that is worth in your quote currency, you will just have to multiply it by the current market price. So say Pound USD is currently trading at 1.2534, and you bought 100,000 lots. You bought one standard lot of pound USD. If you bought one standard lot of pound USD, which means you bought 100,000 units of pound USD, right? So that means you bought 100,000 pounds. The dollar value, since the current price of pound USD is 1.253, so the equivalent in dollars will be $125,340. So that's how we go around that with lot sizes. So the pip value of a standard lot is 10 pips. It's $10 per pip, which means if you enter a standard lot, one pip will be worth $10. Two pips will be worth $2, right? So three pips will be worth. So if you enter the standard lots, if you bought one standard lot of euro, for instance, one pip will be worth $10. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what currency pair you buy. If you buy a standard lot, a pip value of that standard lot is worth $10. I know all of this is getting confusing and complex, but it begins to even out. It is just for you to know it and understand it. It begins to even out when you start practicing, when you start making use of it. It begins to make much sense. So we have a mini lot, we have micro lots, and we have nano lots. So a mini lot is buying 10,000 units of a certain currency. A micro lot is buying 1,000 units of a certain currency, and a nano lot is buying 100 units of a certain currency. And the p value of a mini lot is $1 per pip. The p value of a micro lot is 0.1 cent per pip, and the p value of a nano lot is 0.01 cent per pip. I know some of you are wondering how do I get $100,000? Like most people I see are trading with 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. So how do I get it? How do I get $100,000? And this is where the next topic is very important. So beginners usually start trading with the micro lots. When you jump on the trading platform, it's usually just advisable to start with the micro lot, play with it because you want to find out stuff. Play with it, just 0.01. You can even place a standard lot and just see how it goes. Learn how to take partials, how to close some portion of the position, how to enter, how to sell, buy limit, sell limit. So all of these topics will be explained in future lectures, but these are also very important things for you to understand. So we have a standard lot, we have a mini lot, we have a micro lot, we have a nano lot. So a lot is the volume or size that or of a trade, and the lot size that you take is going to determine how much each pip movement is worth. And considering the number of pips that you use as maybe your stop loss or your TP, right? So now multiplying the lot size value, right? Multiplying the lot size value by your pip of maybe your stop loss or your TP will determine the dollar amounts that you lose. Now I know stop loss and TP are future topics, but this I'm reiterating and reiterating so you kind of get it. You know, repetition is very key. So leverage allows traders to control large position with a small amount of money, which is where the question which is where I go back to the question. You know, where do I see $100,000 to trade when I just have $100? So that is where leverage comes into play, right? So you don't necessarily need to have $100,000 to place a standard lot. In fact, people place 10 standard lots, which is technically $1 million in trading position. So many people you know don't have $1 million to trade. I mean, they may have $1 million, but not to trade. You know, and so how do we manage to take such positions when we don't have that money? So this is where leverage comes in. This is where fulcrum comes in. Think of leverage as riding a bicycle instead of trekking. Think of leverage as driving think of leverage as adding an engine to your bicycle instead of cycling it, right? And think of leverage as putting an automation system on that bicycle instead of driving it with an engine. So leverage is anything that does an heavy lifting, makes something that is ordinarily difficult easier. It's a fulcrum. You know, the fulcrum points. You put I think there's a common quote that says, give me a fulcrum and a rod long enough and I will shift the earth. I can't remember. Archimedes, I think, made that quote. So but basically leverage is how with a little bit of energy you can move something big, you know. So leverage allows traders to control a large position with a small amount of money. It is technically like borrowing funds from your broker to open bigger trades. So it is expressed in ratios. So ratio is when you have in 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 alphabet when you use the colon, it usually means a continuation of something, or you're trying to describe something. So say we are describing pips. Now if we say pips, pips, and we put a colon, we are trying to describe what pips is in that regard. But if we put a colon between numbers, usually it means a ratio. It's forming a relationship between the number on the left and the number on the right. That is, the number on the left, the number of so value on the left, right, is equals to or multiplied by the number on the right. So basically, when we say 1:100, it means that for every one that you have in whatever scenario that we're speaking of now. So for every one that we have, multiply it by 100. So for every $100 that you have, multiply it by 100. For every $1,000 that you have, multiply by 100. So if you have $10,000 and we say 1:100, so it says for every $1 that you have, multiply by 100. So now, in that regard, you're going to multiply your $100, $1,000, $10 by 100, and that is how we can move position with a little amount of money. Also, one ratio 100. Now, in this case, it's going to be termed as ratio. So 1:100 is not the max. You know, you can have as much as 1:1,000, 1:2,000. I think 2,000 is the highest I've seen, but they are crazy numbers. You know, so imagine you have $10. If you have $10 and you have one ratio, say 1,000, that is technically turning your $10 to $10,000. So these are insane numbers, really. This is what leverage can do. It can help you move massive amount of money that you don't have. So with an $100 account, if you have a one ratio 1,000 leverage, for instance, in this case, you can now trade a standard lot, which is 100,000 units. However, um, I think I should reiterate, right? So leverage increases your ability to make money and to lose money. So the larger the leverage that you use on, if you have $100 and you use a 1:1,000, it also indicates that you can lose that $100 very, 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 very quickly if you are if you are making use of its maximum capacity. So leverage increases the ability to make profit and to make loss quickly. In fact, I don't think it necessarily increases your ability to make loss. Losses are standard. It just increases the speed at which you make a loss, or lose the capital, right? So if on $100 account you can make $1,000, now think of what will happen to $100 in that ocean of possibilities. Another $100 it would disappear very, very quickly. So you must use leverage very cautiously. The aim is not to blow overnight. Once you come into this, it quickly turns into a career. It turns into something that it's a lifelong goal. It's a lifelong endeavor. If you if you have a job that you're doing, it's something whereby people after you become a professional, so it's not advised to leave your job to become a trader anyways. But after you become a professional, you now want to build financial independence and all of this. People start trading for a lifetime, something you can do for a lifetime. So that is what leverage is. Leverage increases both your profit and your risk. If the market moves against you, your losses are amplified, which means you can lose that capital very, very quickly. When you use leverage, your broker sets aside a portion of your balance as margin, kind of like a security deposit. So your margin is just a little portion of your balance that your broker will lock. So usually it is, think about it this, say you have $100 and you want to place, say, a mini lot, or let's say you want to place a micro lot, right? You have $100, just place a micro. You have a leverage of 1:1,000. A micro lot is 1,000 units of a currency. So that the amount of your balance, the amount that if you multiplied it by your leverage would give you the value of lots of the would give you the value of the lot size that you're trading technically, is what the broker will set aside. That's what the margin is, just the money that is required to open that position. I'll put a better description of the margin on here as well. So if your balance falls too low, you may get something called a margin call. Margin call is a trader's nightmare. It's not something any trader wants to see. So if your balance gets too low, you may get something called a margin call, a warning to close trades or add more funds. So this is just a brief of what pips, lots, and a tiny little introduction to what margin trading is. Margin trading ties with leverage as well. It's pretty much the same thing. But margin is understand because it uses every aspect. It uses leverage, pips, and lots to use all of that to form what your margin is. Anyways, this brings us to the end of this topic. Um, I just hope you. So this one was a little bit theoretical, quite theoretical. So I just hope you got some knowledge from this. Yeah, if you have any questions about these things, just reach out to me and let's talk about it. Let me see how I can help you understand it better. I understand that putting it on the chart, like maybe like just writing the numbers and doing like some mathematics around it would help understand better. But I encourage you to do some further research and read and reach out, ask questions. Certainly you would not understand everything from just watching videos. Further research helps, and ask me questions. I'm ready to answer. So, anyways, I hope you found this insightful and you found some knowledge here. And yeah, if you have any questions again, reach out to me. Until the next lecture, I wish you peace and good luck.